What's up? My name is Julian Williams, and I take Expedite. Some days I walk into the gym, and I don't necessarily feel like working. Take a scoop or two of this, be ready to go. It's the best stuff I've ever had. Expedite.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Marcos Villegas here, being joined now with Heather Hardy, whose Twitter, I want to say, has been all over the place. Has been fun. It's given me humor at times during this, tough times for everybody. Heather, so yeah, like I said, your Twitter.
I don't have much else to do except for my social media.
One days you want to take pizza to the tub. Other days you're saying you're hungover. Other days
I'm running, shadow boxing.
How has this time been for you?
Well, I think that my Twitter really says it all. Like I'm always like very open about myself. I never try to pretend I'm happy when I'm sad or that I'm stressed when I'm not. And I think just this is a crazy time for everyone, particularly the people in the city. It's like it's reminiscent of 9/11, when there was this scared, you had this impending, this feeling that what else is going to happen? What's going to be next, And any New Yorker like my age who remembers that time, I mean, it's just very stressful. It's like you go on this roller coaster of, I'm fine, things are fine, everything's fine. And then you're like, oh my God, I'm fucking unemployed. I'm trying to homeschool my 15-year-old, And then it just gets really overwhelming. And then you drink whiskey and you tweet dumb things.
We've all been there. I think all of us have been doing a little bit more drinking than we anticipated.
Yeah.
The day-to-day of life over there, describe it to me, because I'm in California, and I know we were talking about it a little bit before we went on air here. But how is the day-to-day over there in terms of what everything's going on?
Well, everything's closed, like you got little local businesses, local shops that are open. So I try to stay loyal to them. People that I've known for 10 years, that are hurting just like I am, that all they could do is go try to sell their coffee and their bagels. So, you put the mask on. I mean, some days I go outside and I look around and you see like myself, maybe 3-4 other people on the street, all wearing like surgical masks, gloves. It's just like, wow, I can't believe this is my life. I can't believe, never would have imagined that this is what life would be. But I live in a very touristy part of Brooklyn, right by Gleason's. So to walk down the street and not see bands of tourists outside of some of the most famous landmarks in Brooklyn is just something I never thought I'd ever see.
I would imagine going to the store must be a very stressful experience, especially it's stressful for me, and I don't live in that big of a city. I would imagine for you guys that live in Brooklyn and Manhattan area, that it must be really, really stressful.
Yeah, like I said, I'm trying to support my local shops and businesses here, like the little delis and stuff and food shop there. It's a little bit more expensive, but you not only are you helping them stay in business, but places like Whole Foods and Trader Joe's and stuff, you have to wait outside. Like they have lines like out on the street where they have tape on the floor where you have to stand 6 feet apart from people, and you can only go in a certain amount of people at a time, certain amount of people in an aisle at a time. I mean, it's like militant. Like I won't take a chance in a big spot like that,
Mm-hmm. With this happening, how are you personally, you as Heather?
It's challenging. It's like, because Heather is so many people. Heather is a fighter who's right now probably not going to fight at minimum November, December. And that's a long shot, right? Any fighters who are in contract right now, right, would have been March, April, May, and June. You have 4 months of backlog fights. So even if July comes and they go, okay, guys, we can box again, you have the March, April, May, June fighters. So it's going to put me so Heather the fighter is like, what the hell am I going to do? I'm also a personal trainer. Gleason's has been closed for a month. I have no steady income coming in. So now that Heather is like hustling, trying to do internet classes and teach little lessons in my building and stuff. You have Heather the mom. I'm terrified. I feel so bad for my daughter. Imagine being a 15-year-old kid stuck in a tiny little apartment with your mom. It's like outside of TV, we try to throw tarp sheets down so she could paint a little bit, or we have makeup parties, but there's only so much I can do, and she's getting aggravated, and I'm trying not to react because I don't want to fight with her because I feel so bad. So that kind of sucks. My personal life, ugh, we won't even talk about that. 2020 does not care about anyone's social life.
No, it's true. You know, I live by myself, but I've been getting a little stir crazy over here, not being able to see anybody and have any sort of face-to-face interaction with anybody.
It's the worst. It's the worst. Like, and then, you know, like I always joke with some of my friends, like, you know, like kids will come in and roll their eyes at us and like, shut up, you know, and then they go in their room and it's like, because it's the only human interaction you have. But we always laugh and say, like, I wonder what's worse, though, being stuck with your husband, because they're all first wives. So you think, like, the first wives who were divorced years ago, like, imagine if you're still married in this, like.
Well, they're saying that like divorce rates have like skyrocketed in China.
Not surprised.
Yeah, right. So we might see a lot of those happening over here when this thing finally blows over.
A lot of eligible people out on the market.
Yeah, especially after this. What's the first thing you're gonna do when this all blows over?
Go to the gym.
Yeah.
And I want a close second is go to the bar.
Yeah. That's
I have a mimosa. I miss brunch so much, but I want to go to the gym. I miss the boys so much. I miss every morning for 10 years. I go into the gym for 6 a.m. And Bruce, the guy who owns Gleason's, is on his exercise bike, taking attendance every day for 10 years. I walk by and I pretend to take his sheets, and I bring in coffee, and I hug the guys, Blimp, Cat, Vaughn, everybody. Not seeing them every day. Like the guys, these are like 55, 60, 65-year-old guys, you know, who are like my life. And they will FaceTime me like, I didn't think I was going to miss you. It's heartbreaking.
Nah, it is. It's in all this free time, especially with you guys over there. You guys can't go out as much as other people in other places of the country because of how bad it is. So, like, what are you doing to stay in shape and not gain like a lot of weight from staying in and eating and drinking like everybody else is doing?
Well, the good thing is that the streets are empty, so I've been running on the streets here. I'm staying away from the parks. I went to Fort Greene Park last weekend with someone like a social distance run, but it was just too crowded and uncomfortable. So I've been just sticking to the streets. The piers are really big because they're wide open. And honestly, most of the people here in New York, it's not like those spring break kids in Miami. Everyone here is afraid. Like if you're walking down the street and someone's coming at you, it's like a natural separation. If you're walking up, someone going to the street, like people are just getting out everybody's way, you know?
Wow. So it's not like that over here. So
That's why I'm curious to see where people live. If my friend is in Florida and said it's not like that in Florida, my other friends are in South Carolina, it's not like that over here. Like, it is a real thing. Like I said, people will wait up online out the store so that they don't have to be crowded waiting online in a small store.
Your main source of income, from what I read from a few articles and what you mentioned, is training clients. It keeps you afloat. Are you still able to do that?
Well, not face to face, you know, because so gatherings, like in the very beginning of this, when we were allowed to go to the park and stuff, and they said that you can gather in groups of 10, I would teach little classes and was doing pad work on the street the first week. But then, like, as the weeks went on, and I realized, wow, one of the girls I teach works at a pizza shop, and another girl I teach is doing deliveries, like. And then I just thought, like, how dangerous that is to my girls who I know are being isolated. So I let go of all my clients that I was teaching outside. Sorry. I think that was my battery. I let go of all the people I was teaching outside. And now I only have 2 people I teach that are in my building, because we all kind of have this mutual agreement. Like, I'm not seeing anyone else, you know, so we see each other. We've been seeing each other. So it's like there's really no like cross contamination, so to speak. But outside of that, like some of my girls, like one thing I noticed about this pandemic is that a saying my mama used to say, shit runs downhill, right? So like people who are better off than me are like, I've had a few clients like forward me $500 in lessons for when we go back. You know, I have people paying me for FaceTime sessions. We'll FaceTime and I'll do lessons with them while they're in the living room, you know? And you know, it's like because they just want to help. So I think the moral of the story is this: we got to help each other because we're all we got.
No, that's very true. And especially during a time like this, we can't turn into savages and just be selfish, because there's a lot of people that aren't as able-bodied as us.
Yeah. But I can tell you another thing about New York is like, you would expect, like, I remember after 9/11, I hate to bring it up that again, but I remember after 9/11, all the stores were getting looted. And, you know, I remember the back of the Daily News said ash holes on it, because it showed these people getting arrested, covered in ash, breaking into jewelry stores down in the Wall Street. But I think people now are so afraid to go out, and there's no stealing, there's no riots, there's no looting. People are really just afraid and staying home.
Yeah. I have a friend who's a police officer, and he tells me that, yeah, crime's way down, and that.
Yeah, nobody's going out. The Cuomo got on TV yesterday, says, "Oh, crime is down." No shit, everybody's scared to leave.
Yeah, everyone's scared, even them.
Nobody wants to get locked up. Nobody wants to go sit in Rikers Island overnight for arraignment. Forget it.
Well, they've even been releasing people out early too.
I know. Releasing people out early, and then a lot, like I teach the district attorney's office. I teach them all boxing. We do charity boxing. So I'm in touch with all of them a lot. And they said like they all can't go into the office, but you can't not give people their right to a speedy trial. So there has to be court. There has to be appearances. There has to be gatherings of people that are by law have to be like open to the public. So, you know, that can't stop. So the police really have to make sure they don't be locking people up. That's why I tell my kid, you know, like, nobody's going to mess with us now, because I could hit them and not get in trouble.
And people have been getting creative with the type of mask they wear. I've been seeing a lot of photos from people from over there in New York.
Yeah.
Is that real? Have you seen that?
Long sleeve T-shirts. People don't tie up a long sleeve T-shirt.
Or people put like buckets on their head.
I haven't seen that. I'm not really out, so to speak. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not getting on the subway. I'm not running over the bridge. I'm not doing anything crazy like getting out of here. But I see people with their hoodies tied around their face. I haven't seen all that crazy stuff, though.
Now, on this article that you did with The Zone, they quoted you as saying that you're okay for this month, but you're a little bit worried about next month in May in terms of income coming in. Is that still the case right now, Heather?
Well, I think collectively, like, all of our landlords kind of had to figure out a solution, right? Like, they came up with a mortgage solution, but not a rent solution. The only rent solution Cuomo really put in place was like 90 days and you can't get evicted. Now, mind you, this is my first month in my new apartment. I don't have a history with my landlord. This would have been my first check. So, you know me a long time. Yeah, I'm very upfront and honest. And I called her and I said, I want to pay you. I could afford to pay you some, but I'm afraid because if I empty out my bank account, I won't eat. So basically, she's going to set it up so that I pay just like my property taxes and my maintenance until I can pay the full rent. But for every month that goes on, I'm going to wind up owing her money. In New York City, that $1,200 ain't going far. I'll tell you that much. I get $1,200. That's like a fraction of what my rent is. You go grocery shopping in New York City, it's a lot different than going grocery shopping in fucking Oklahoma or something, you know? It costs a lot of money just to live where I live. So for me, it's not so much a problem like, what am I going to do next month? It's like, right, what am I going to do if I can't fight and I owe my landlord $15,000? I'm going to have to get really creative.
That's tough because we don't know when this thing's going to end. That's the thing.
Exactly. And then when it does end, right? So say they put us back and they go, okay, July 1st, you guys go back to work. It's going to take a minute to be able to start making money again, right? Because you're going to have people, who, you know, they're not going to say, okay, you guys could go out. I'm staying home for another week. Let everybody else go out and see what happens when y'all get out there. I'm not going to trust that. A lot of people aren't. So to have people who might go to the gym. It's going to take some time, some trust, you know.
You know, some people that are watching this and see you on billboards and with sponsorship deals and see you as a former world champion, they'd be shocked to hear this. They'd be like, "Well, Heather, you're a professional fighter. I thought you'd be making a good amount of money."
Female fighters make a fraction of what male fighters make. I mean, I won a world title on HBO as the co-main event in Madison Square Garden. I made 20 grand. So put that into perspective, right? I'm the biggest fighters in New York City, period. End of story. And I don't even say that to be away. It's a fact. I sell a lot of tickets. I'm very popular. I'm a lucrative person to have on the card. I made 20 grand to fight for a world title in Madison Square Garden. So, you know, money was never, that was never my constant, my real income. My real income came, I was working, doing title fights, still bringing my kid back and forth to school and working a full-time job. So it hurt me more when the gym closed and I couldn't be around my people.
Have you noticed that the purses have been going up lately?
They have, and it has a lot to do, like, people don't really take into account that it was 2012 before women were allowed to box in the Olympics, before women were allowed to get that international recognition. So you have like Clarissa Shields, Katie Taylor. There are other ones, and I apologize, my mind is slowing, but you know who they are. Like the girls from the Olympics are the ones who are drawing the crowds, who got signed by promoters, who are like bringing in the money fights, like, and very well deserved. But I think part of my argument has always been they didn't let us go to the Olympics. We're just as good fighters as the Olympians, but right now I'm 38, and as are most of the girls who came in my era, and now promoters don't want to invest in us. So I see that over time, like, you know, the girls will start making more money, but for my class, not so much.
I know, like in MMA, they get paid a lot better than the female boxers, but even with them, they're skewed a little bit compared to the men. But why is it that like MMA, a newer sport, hasn't been along as much as boxing has? Why are they able to pay their female fighters more, but in boxing, it's not even close to what a lot of the top females are making?
I think there are two reasons. I think the first one is that MMA is a newer sport, and it's being run and publicized by newer age people, right? Like Bob Arum does not have a Twitter, right? He's not familiar with how to use social media as a platform to generate business, to generate sponsorships, to generate buzz, to tell the planet, like, hey, look at this new girl that's really cool that I got. So boxing never did that. Like when I was coming up in boxing, had to be the one to tell the world I was here. Nobody was going to do that for me. Where in MMA, they showcase these girls in lots of different ways to make people want to see them, right? Like I had to fight tooth and nail to get on the undercard at the Barclays when I was selling $40,000 in tickets. It never was like that for female MMA fighters, you know. Dana White took them, like, you know, you hate to say Ronda Rousey, but she really was the breakthrough, took her and said, I can make money with you, and just kept taking women and following that same model. That's the first thing. The second thing, I think in MMA, the money is spread out better, right? Like in boxing, you have this money coming in, and you have a very small percentage making a lot of money, and everyone else making sustainable money. Whereas in MMA, you don't have a $40 million purse. Conor McGregor, maybe I think at his max, don't quote me because 70 people will tell me what an idiot I am, but I want to say just a couple $1 million, right? Until he came to boxing. So the money is spread out a lot better there.
So with that being said, do you think when all this blows over, I know back in 2019, you said you were going to focus on boxing. Because of that, is it more likely that you're going to reconsider the MMA route again?
Well, I'm just like, here's the thing. And like, I'm a realist. I was never that good at MMA. I'm good at fighting. I'm not good at jiu-jitsu. Not really that great at kickboxing. I'm okay at kickboxing, right? So for me, taking an MMA fight was kind of like, I want to take something that people want to see that's going to make sense, because I'm not afraid to do it. It's like I got a chance. Every time I go in there, I got better hands than anybody in the cage. It's just a matter of, can I make it work, right? So for me to go back to MMA, I'd really want the people to say, we want to see you back. We want to see you. There was some press going on before all this happens with Rowdy Beck. You know that girl who did bare knuckle boxing?
Bare knuckle,
And she fought at Dublin, and she's like, yo, I want to fight Heather Hardy. And I was like, yes! Work! Tell him again! I want to do it! I want to do it! Say it again. And it got like a lot of buzz. People were like, I want to see it, I want to see it, I want to see it. And then 2020 was like, no, bitch, nope, not in March, you won't. So I kind of put everything at a halt. And like I said, now all these contracted fights are being pushed back. So Bellator is like, I'm not even a whisper right now. But I'm hopeful that maybe, you know, we could get together and get some buzz so I could get some work before the year's out, pay off my rent.
You know, obviously, then that is a fight you are interested in. Would you want it to be an MMA fight, or would you want it to be like a bare knuckle fight?
I mean, I'd love to do a bare knuckle fight because I like my odds way better there. I think that Beck has a lot more experience, a lot more finesse, a lot more knowledge of what to do in the cage. But yo, I still like 2-2, not so good, not so bad, but I still wouldn't want to fight me. I could fight.
No, you can. And, you know, what we've seen in MMA, like the record's not so much important for the fans in that fan base as opposed to you coming out there and actually fighting. With that being said, when you look at like the 4 fights you had, like, why do you feel like things didn't work out in your opinion?
It's a lot of different things. Like, okay, like my first fight worked out because the girl fought my fight, right? She stood in the pocket, she banged with me. We put on a great fan-friendly fight. Second fight, I underestimated what the girl could do. Christina came out and kicked my face literally off my butt.
The Taekwondo fighter.
Yeah, but it was like, we were in the locker room and one of my coaches was like, oh shit, you know, she's a black belt in Taekwondo. And I was like, I didn't want to hear that, right?
Not a good thing to tell your fighter.
Right. I was like, what did you say? And they were like, oh, no, you know, so like I got my face kicked off. But I was in there, I was fighting. Like, if anything, that was a great fight for me because it proved to everybody how tough I am. I didn't even got to say it no more. People is like, that bitch is tough. And then my third fight against Anna had more experience than me as a boxer and as a mixed martial artist. And everybody hated it because it was boring and we were doing jujitsu. But I knew she was going to come at me with the bullshit. And I learned to do what I had to do to get the win. I was so proud of that fight. Nobody liked it, but I was so proud of that fight. And I'll be honest, like, I'm not one to make excuses, but I wasn't in a good spot my last fight. And people hate to hear that because they say, you're an athlete, you're a professional, you need to not make excuses. And that's not an excuse, that's a real thing. Sometimes just your mind, your body, you're just not in the right place. And it was very out of body for me, my last MMA fight. Like, I remember standing at the cage, like the bell rang and I'm looking at this girl and like something in my head, as I'm walking towards her, was like, what are you doing? What are you doing? So I really would love another chance with Bellator just to kind of redeem that last one because that was my least favorite.
What was happening then in that last fight?
A lot of personal stuff, overwhelming personal stuff, family stuff, my personal life, my private life, my financial life, like everything. I was kind of just like in a really, really bad way for that training camp.
You know, with like the transition, you coming from boxing and then doing MMA, I want to say, like, how difficult is it to transition as a boxer into MMA?
It's so hard. It's so hard. People who say it's not hard, I just want to be like, fuck you, you liar. You know what I mean? It's so hard. Because and I see MMA fighters who go into a boxing ring and they take the MMA mentality and I'm like, you know, like, you ain't playing that in my house. And like, I will go into an MMA fight and then go back into a boxing ring with the MMA attitude. And it took me until my last fight, coming off my last fight, came out of the cage and then had to train for Amanda Serrano. And that's when I realized, like, wait a minute, I'm boxing? Like, I'm fighting in the cage. When I'm in the cage, I'm fighting to survive. I just want to get through the round. And then sometimes I take that mentality back into boxing. I think I was sparring Alicia Napoleon, and I was fighting like I was trying to survive. And my coach at the time was like, "Why aren't you hitting her?" And I was like, "Oh shit, she's not gonna kick me," you know. And like, so you click all that stuff right back.
Do the punches hurt more in boxing or do they hurt more in MMA?
Depends who punches you.
Yeah, they still all hurt, huh?
Not, and some of them don't hurt at all. Like let me think. Amanda Serrano is a hard ass puncher. But she's a hard puncher no matter what. Boxing gloves, 16-ounce gloves, 8-ounce gloves, don't matter. Because she knows how to place her punch, right? This has nothing to do with strength. She has natural power. Then, like, you had the first girl I fought at the Garden. She punched so hard.
Yeah.
She was the hardest hitter I faced in MMA, for sure.
Well, that was a great fight. You guys went at it.
We did. She punched hard. It was like, oh, you know, she's this, she's that. I came out of that cage and I was like, that girl can punch.
Did your body feel more sore after an MMA fight or more sore after like a boxing fight? Like
it depends.
Yeah.
It depends. Like I've had boxing matches where I go in the gym and teach the next day. I sparred the next day. MMA fights, same thing, where I get back in the gym and a couple days later, I'm helping one of the other girls spar for their fights, giving them rounds. But I've had both kind of fights. Like my MMA fight, my pro debut, I remember I was in Cancun with the family like the next week, black and blues, bloodshot eyes. Both my hands were broken. I had black and blue hands. And then some MMA fights, like when I fought Anna, that was fine. Pretty face still.
Given that, what was like the hardest thing to, I guess, learn in like the MMA aspect? Was it like the ground game? Or was it the submissions? Like, what was it for you?
It was remembering to be nervous, right? Like I go into a boxing match and I'm so confident in the stuff I know how to do and the stuff I don't know how to do. And then how to get around the stuff I don't know how to do. You know what I mean? With MMA, there's still that like, what if she does this and I don't know how to answer it, right? That's how it feels. Like I don't have the same confidence.
No, because I know MMA fighters have made like the transition into MMA, most notably Conor McGregor with the one fight that he had. But, there's some boxers that are open to it and they feel like, well, hey, I know how to fight. And, I could outbox all these guys. I'm a better boxer than all of them. But there's a lot more to MMA than just that.
Yeah, like even the best MMA girls, like I'm sparring partners with some of the girls that fight in the UFC, like high-ranked girls that in the cage would make me look like a second grader trying to give a college essay speech, okay? Like they wax my ass. In a boxing ring, I make them look like they never fought before because I know more about boxing than most people forgot. I lived it my whole life for 10 years. And there are people who know more than me. You know what I'm saying? There's levels to boxing. So if you don't live it, do it, breathe it, you're never going to come at me with some type of boxing. You might be better than me, but I'm going to know why.
Yeah, it's tough to be a two-sport athlete in anything, and especially like in combat sports. You would think that you could do it as a boxer and an MMA fighter, but it's tough because the MMA training really is brutal. Like
it hurts, and I'm old. I'm old, man.
You're still young.
I'm old. I'm 38, man, and they be twisting, and my body ain't used to doing all that stuff. I would leave, come home, sometimes just cry on the train, like, oh, I hate wrestling so much.
Why am I doing this? Why am I doing
I know, why am I doing this? They're not even paying that much.
No, I would have thought you would have thought that with your second fight when you had your nose all like busted open. I think that's like MMA wise, a lot of people still remember that fight that you had.
Yeah, that's probably my most notable fight. That sucked, man.
Yeah.
It sucked so bad. It still sucked. I wonder if she knows that I still think about her every time I get a stuffy nose. I'm like, I got cold as a bitch.
She broke your nose in that fight, right?
She broke it. It's like, you ever see those cartoons with Daffy Duck when Bugs Bunny shoots him in the face and the beak goes to the side?
Yeah.
That's what happened to me. My nose just flew off my whole face. I remember walking out of the cage and I coughed and the bones went out my mouth.
Legit.
As they went in and out my mouth. I remember.
Oh, wow.
It was a mess. It was a mess. Like my mother would say, it was like an abortion. It was a mess.
Oh, man.
And then because right before she kicked my face, she hit me with an elbow. And I remember I went to the corner between rounds and I was like, how the fuck is she punching me so hard? And my coach said, she's not punching you, she's hitting you with elbows. And I was like, those guys hurt. Because she ripped open my face. And when they had to go in and fix my nose that broke, because my nose was shattered and displaced, they went through the hole in my face that she split open with her elbow.
How are you able to breathe when that happens? Like during a
Through
fight?
my mouth. I had a mouth. It sucked, but I could breathe through my mouth.
But like, isn't blood like going into your throat, like through your nose?
Not so much because it comes out of your nose.
Yeah.
Like when I breathed in the bones, so some of it was like that. But if you focus just on breathe through your mouth, I had to do that for like 3 weeks. It was the worst sleep I ever got in my life. I got addicted to Afrin. Coming off that was like going through alcohol rehab, for Christ's sake. It was a mess.
After?
What's that?
Was that painful after?
It wasn't painful, but you can't breathe through it. It's like having a stuffy nose.
Yeah.
Is that not the most annoying thing to try to sleep through? Imagine that for like a month.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted peace and quiet and sleep and breathe through both my nose.
Yeah. What did they have to do to fix everything? Just surgery to correct the...
I had surgery and the lady was like, after she's like, I'm really not happy with it. Why don't you come back and we'll fix it? And she was like, but you have to promise me you're not going to get hit again. And I was like, wow. So we kind of made a deal that after my fighting career, I'd think about getting it fixed. I mean, I don't mind being ugly that bad. So,
you still have problems with it then? Do you still have problems breathing?
no, it's like if my sinuses act up, then it'll get stuffy because this is all crooked. It's all crooked. Like I have a deviated septum. So it never evened out. And it's like all swollen and stuff. I used to have such a skinny nose. She ruined my face. I'd like to sneak up on her and ruin her face. I'm just kidding, Christina. I'm just kidding.
I know you are. But
I'm just playing. But I just wonder sometimes if she thinks about that. Like, hey, remember that time I made Heather Hardy ugly? Because I do.
I never knew that fighters thought about injuries like that from fights, from certain fighters.
Well, when they are recurring, when they're recurring, sometimes I will get dressed up and look at my face and I'm like, this bitch, man, this bitch. Or like I said, if my sinuses act up, I'm just like, nose, like things like that. And then this, I got stitched here, and my very first fight at the Barclays Center, I split it open in 2014. It was the first time a girl ever boxed there, and I got a headbutt, and I had 9 stitches here. And then my first MMA fight, the girl headbutt me, and there was a piece in the fight where she went, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. And I said, it's okay, but I can't feel my face anymore because she damaged all my nerves. So I go to pluck my eyebrows, and I can't feel this whole part of my face.
Oh.
Yeah. So like every time I pluck my eyebrows or I scratch my head, it's like pins, like you touch like this, and this all goes pins and needles.
Jeez. Wow.
So I always think of the girl I fought in my pro debut for MMA.
It's a tough life. It's a tough life.
But I got a lot of stories for my grandkids.
That's true. That's true. They're gonna see you as like Superwoman.
Maybe.
So you're open to the MMA fights. Obviously. Before this had happened, did you have a date already set to return? Because I know you last fought Amanda back in September.
Yeah, it took a couple months off. I was like, fuck boxing. I'm never fighting again. But then the itch comes over. Like, it's like a bad boyfriend, man. You just always take him back home. And They offered me a fight with Jelena Maranovich for the WBC title, but the date was up in the air. So it was like, yes, we want the fight. We agreed on the money, but then the date kept getting pushed back. So that was never contracted because we never had a solid date on it. And then that was a possibility. And then, like I said, there was that talk with Beck. So it was like, wow, let's see if maybe Bellator has a show for me. And we had just missed the show that was going to happen in Connecticut at I know you know what I mean, but I can't say because I forget. The one like up there. And so my manager was like, all right, let's see where we can get you guys on, maybe back in Dublin, maybe in England. And then all this happened. So everything was like, nothing.
In terms of the Beck fight, did you reach out to Bellator and let them know that you were interested?
Yeah, I had my manager do it. Actually, as soon as the article came out and everyone started tweeting me in it, I started retweeting it with Bellator because everybody knows if I ignore you, you're not worth my fucking time. I don't talk to everybody, especially everybody wants to call me out. Everybody wants to fight everybody, you know? But I started to retweet it, and then they contacted my manager, and my manager was like, Heather says, show me the money, baby. Show me the money, because I'm with it. And then, you know, it was a bad time. There just were no talks for it. But I would love to do like a bare knuckle boxing in the cage kind of thing. That'd be tons of fun.
So you're all for it. It appears Beck is all for it. So then
Yeah.
what would you think it is besides what's going on now, but you think naturally after this is done, that you think that the fight should happen, will happen?
I mean, if Beck wants it to happen, because let's be honest, she's a bit more relevant than I am right now. She just had a fight in Dublin. It's her first win with Bellator. She's kind of, the ball is rolling in her favor. If you look in terms of me, I fought twice in 2019. I lost both times. So I'm really not the one. I have a big fan base and they all want to see me fight, you know, but I'm not really the one who gets to go to the plate and say, I want to fight you, Beck, because then I just sound like a thirsty bitch, you know? She said she wanted to fight me, and I'm like, girl, let's do it.
Yeah, you crack me up, Heather.
I'm not lying, though. You know, I'm not that type of person. Like, I'm not out here trying to be something I'm not. The reality is she's more relevant than me. She gets to decide. If she's like, fuck you, I ain't fighting you. Okay, you're right. You're right. Okay.
You balance. You have such an interesting story, and it's even more interesting that that you're able to balance the life of a fighter, which is extremely stressful, extremely hard, regimented, and then still when you get home, you have to be a mom. How difficult is that balance, and how have you been able to balance that for such a long time now?
Well, I think that my answer to that is every working mom has to do it. I won't even say every single mom. Every working mom has to do it. Even my moms who have husbands at home who can help them. Like, there's something about a mom's responsibility with their kids that is so embedded in who you are. It's like you forget about things that seem impossible. When it comes to your kids, you do what you got to do. I got to make a certain amount of money. We figure it out. I got to make sure you do that in school. Like, having a kid, I always say this, when you have a baby, it's almost like the doctor gives it to you and goes, here, don't kill it. That's how important it is to be a parent. Like, I have to keep you alive. I have to make you happy. I have to be strict and discipline you. I have to keep you safe, to make sure you're clean. I have to make sure you have good manners. I have to make sure you are engaged in something outside of school and home. So it's like a lot of responsibility, but every mother I know, the good ones anyway, figure out a way to do it, and we do it.
What is like a normal day like for you? Like, when you have a fight coming up, you're in camp, and then having to balance that, like time management wise, like take me through a day.
Well, it sucks because I'm still working full time. My old hours at the gym, I would start teaching at 6 a.m. and finish about 9:30, 10 o'clock. And between, say, 10 and 12, I would do my technical boxing training. So not necessarily like strength, or, I might have sparring sessions. I might do stuff on the pads, try to correct stuff, tighten things up, defense. And then I'd have a small break to like teach one afternoon class, like say 12 to 2. From 2 o'clock to say 7 would be a mix of boxing drills, like for conditioning, and then either a strength session, like at a different gym, or like an outside run type thing. So I was doing 3 a days with 2 client sessions a days around it. And, you know, like everything suffers. Like in the month before my fight, my apartment is a mess. There's hardly laundry done. I'm not scrubbing the stove. I stopped cooking. We order in every night, you know, like things suffer. Does my kid suffer? No. Does my job suffer? No, because those are the 2 things that I can never let go. Mm-hmm. But it's usually out of the house by 5:45, not back in the house till sometimes 8 at night.
And what time are you going to bed on those days?
Depends what I got to do when I get home. Like if I get home at 8 o'clock, got to eat something, shower, make sure the laundry's done, check the homework, make sure my kid has her 30 minutes of face-to-face with mom while we're doing stuff. Maybe we eat together. And then by the time I knock out, maybe 10 o'clock. I'm old, you know. I'm not looking to like go out and do things. That's for a fight, you know, for a fight camp.
I don't know how you do that. That sounds exhausting.
Well, I love to fight, and boxing got me out of my old neighborhood and allows me to give things to my daughter that people that I grew up with can't give to their kids, you know? And so I always just took it and turned that, yeah, I don't know how I do it either, but I make sure that my kid can live in a good neighborhood, go to a good school. She can go to any music concert she wants to go to. I never have to say no to her. She can wear popular kids' clothes. Like, I didn't get to that. I had to wear my cousin Michael and Thomas's hand-me-downs for 10 years growing up. I didn't get to go shopping. I never got to wear fancy shoes. I didn't get to go do after-school activities and go to music shows and go on vacations. I never had that. But I could give it all to my kids. So if that means to work 14-hour days, if I'm able to do it,
Usually fighters are, you know, they'll work out 2-3 times a day, but they'll nap in between. You're not even able to rest or nap, right?
Not usually. Like I keep on laughing because now this is the first time in 10 years that I've gotten to sleep, like that I'm sleeping, but I'm eating like I'm eating like I'm going on death row tomorrow morning. That's how I'm eating food. But I'm not getting fat, and I think it's because I'm sleeping and I'm like working out at a very relaxed pace, at my own pace. You know, I'll go running, maybe do some sit-ups, some push-ups, and then rest, and then maybe do another work. You know, but I'm cooking a big dinner. I'm like, oh, this better not last too long.
Because yeah,
nothing's gonna fit.
I would imagine having that schedule that you have, like, it could lead in some instances to like maybe overtraining or that your body needs the rest. Did you ever feel like that at all? That like your body just felt just tired?
Yeah, I do a lot of crying during the fight camp because I'm exhausted. Yeah, like I just will sit down and cry, you know, and like, and anywhere it's like this, like it's like I'll be on the train, be like, okay, ma'am, no, I'm tired. I used to ride home from Law MMA on the Long Island Railroad, and it got to where the guy collecting the tickets just knew me. He didn't even care that I was crying because I would leave there, and it would be the same thing, 8 o'clock at night, coming on the Long Island Railroad, covered in bruises, just like couldn't even move if I wanted to, type of thing.
You know, back to the MMA thing. Yeah, it's frustrating. It's frustrating being so good at something, and then you do something new and you get humbled, and humbled bad where like you can't do anything. I remember my first MMA class because I come from a wrestling background, and you know I was so confident I'd take these fools down and slam them, and then I'd slam them, and then I get submitted within like 3 seconds.
Yeah.
Like, what the? Like, it completely humbled me, but it was a shock because it's like, man, I am so defenseless when it.
Well, whenever I start a camp, Ray always lets me beat up the girls in boxing first, just to like let them know, like I could fight, so don't be getting no silly type of way with me when I'm not good in the cage, you know. So they all are pretty good with that, because I'm humble in real life. I'm not a jerk, so.
No,
kind of was an easy transition.
You could tell that. How does your daughter feel about you being a fighter?
She don't give a shit, man.
No?
She only is used to it. Like, I can remember times I'd be like, honey, the New York Times is going to come and interview me. She'd be like, don't knock on my door. I'm not coming out. Do I have to be here? You know? That's why I'm her mama though. Like,
Does she go to your fights? Like, does she know, like, understands like what you do and all that?
no, she
No.
just is boring to her. Like, they were gonna go to her and her best friend were gonna go to my last fight at the Garden, just because it was like co-main event at the Garden and my mom and this big thing. But then like the day of the fight, she's like, "Could I just stay home? Because I don't want."
Oh, really? So she's never been to any of your fights?
A couple when she was little, because she didn't have a choice, right? She didn't have a choice. Like, you live with me, you have to come, you know. But as she started getting older and could stay home by herself, she stopped coming.
But I would imagine like her friends like know who you are, right? And
I teach one of her friends boxing at Gleason's. Her best friend comes and boxes with me. She works in my office. We've done some stuff together. But, you know, like, it's my dad was the biggest Met fan. I have a huge Yankee tattoo on my back. Like, it's like you like the things your parents don't like, you know? The opposite. My daughter's into music and art. She plays the bass guitar. She works at an art studio. She's incredibly talented, like beyond talented. So I'm just happy she has her thing, and boxing ain't it. I'm fine with that.
that's good. We've been seeing a lot of fighters with this free time, learning new stuff, like watching a lot of movies, learning instruments. What have been like your go-to things like on Netflix or like any new things that you've been doing with all this free time?
So I'm very disappointed in my whole self because I binge watched any Netflix before this happened. Like, my Netflix activity between January and March, I'm so mad at myself.
You finished Netflix.
I did. Like, I finished You. I finished Confessions of a Murder. I finished How to Be a Killer. Like, what's left? So the good thing, though, is I never watched an episode of Goodfellas. I mean, no, Goodfellas is my favorite movie. I never watched an episode of The Sopranos. So I'm going to go on that journey. And I'm doing a lot of this.
A lot of champagne. A lot of mimosas.
Champagne and pizza. It's like, and then I say, like, well, Annie, you know, the pizza place is like, you know, they could use the business. We should just get pizza for dinner. And Annie will go, all right, Mom, whatever you say. So
you ain't complaining. The kids love, everybody loves pizza.
I can say no. Like, I brought home pizza last night. I'm like, Mom, you want pizza again? She's like, no, but I will have it.
Well, I hope that everything turns out well with
Thanks.
you. You're starting to feel better though, right?
Yeah, I mean, I came to the realization where I've been at the bottom before. I've been at the bottom working 6 jobs, like no money, can barely pay the rent, and I came to the top. I know how to get there. So I'm a hustler at heart. I'll figure this shit out.
Yeah. All right, Heather, it's been good chatting with you. Thank you so much.
Very nice to talk to you.
Very fun chat with you. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.